Oh, my knee.
I love you guys.
Love you too. Okay, well, the camera cut off 10 minutes before we thought it would. Okay, so we left off with Grandpa Jeff moved from Fort Sill to El Reno and met Grandma Peggy, and they got married in El Reno. So take it from there, from what we can remember.
Yeah, they were married in 39, and I can't say exactly when, probably fairly early 39, I don't remember that for sure.
Uh-huh.
We have those dates down somewhere though. And then they lived in El Reno, for a while, and, I'm not sure what Jeff did. I know he drove a truck while he was there for the creamery, hauling eggs and cream and so forth. And then things were kind of tough. And in the meantime, Peggy's dad was transferred from El Reno to Oklahoma City with the Rock Island Railroad. And they had told Jeff and Peggy that, you might have a better chance over there. So Jeff looked over there, and jobs were pretty tough everywhere, but he found something over there, and I don't remember what he was doing, but they moved to Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
And then Judy was born in 1940,
Mm-hmm.
and in the meantime there, probably that year or so, it was close in there, Peggy's dad was transferred again. He went to Chicago. And after they were up there a year or so.
So now Clyde was with the Rock Island Railroad the whole time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they just moved him from one place to
So
the
he
other.
had a steady job with Rock Island all through the Depression.
Oh, yeah.
So he,
Yeah.
he did well.
All of
Okay.
that, yeah. So they had told Jeff and Peggy that there was probably a lot more opportunities in Chicago if they
Sure.
wanted to come up there. So they did, they moved, and Jeff went to work in the steel mill. And stayed there. Was still at the steel mill when the war started. Dude had stopped by there in, it was probably early 42 when he was going to, they were being sent to New Jersey and were gonna ship out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And he stopped in Chicago and saw Jeff and Peggy. And I know Peggy said after that, Jeff was, he'd go to work every day and so forth, but he didn't seem happy, he seemed to be bothered. And steel
And that was
mill,
after Dude came up and met him?
and the war going on, and Dude was.
So Dude came to Chicago and met with them, then he went to go to New Jersey to be deployed in what year?
That would have been in 42.
In 42?
Mm-hmm.
So he joined the service in 39?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
And the steel workers were,
Was Dude married then?
no.
Okay.
No. And steel workers were exempt from the draft if they were a little older and a family. So Jeff was deferred and didn't have to go in the service. And Peggy said she knew he wasn't happy about it. And one day later, and I don't remember exactly when this was, late in 42 or early 43 or something, she said, Jeff, why don't you just go join the Army? I know that's what you want. And they talked about it a while, and he said, well, he really did. He felt like he wasn't doing what he should.
Mm-hmm.
So he joined, he had been in the Army before, and I don't know why, but he joined the Navy instead of the Army. Never did ask him why. And Peggy and Judy moved back to El Reno,
Mm-hmm.
and he went in the Navy.
Now why did she move back to El Reno if Grandpa Clyde and Grandma Desi were still in Chicago?
Well, all of her friends were there, and
Okay.
and Jeff's side of the family was there, and
Okay.
Peggy was just more like my big sister than anything
Okay.
else. And I don't know, she just wanted to come home, I guess.
It's warmer.
Yeah, there you go. The wind wasn't blowing as hard.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Oklahoma and Chicago are pretty
yeah,
close.
yeah, that's right. So she came back there. Jeff went in the Navy, and then he took his basic there at in Great Lakes, and went to was shipped to the West Coast, and he was shipped out as he was trained in as he'd been trained as a gunner, and then he was assigned to a merchant ship. So he was never on one of the big battle wagons or cruisers or something. He had a small gun crew on some of the merchant ships, and that's where he went through the war. And then at what did we say,
Okinawa,
yeah, they were there at that battle, and that's where he said it was just real bad, whether you was on land or on a ship. The planes weren't strafing the island, they were strafing the ships. And,
Yeah, I know Mom's got a window box that she put an airplane that Grandpa Jeff made from pieces of metal and bullets and stuff that if I remember right, she said he got from Okinawa. And then I've got his machete he had.
oh, that was a belt buckle?
No, it was an actual, Grandpa he took bullets and pieces of metal and cut them,
Uh-huh.
and he made a little plane out of it,
Yeah.
kind of a little toy type deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got the machete that he had in World War II,
Yeah, I remember.
and it's on the mantle of my fireplace.
I remember seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he also had a belt buckle that he had put a coin, I can't remember what the coin was, and he had split a bullet down the middle
Mm-hmm.
and had half of that bullet on each side of that coin. Have you ever seen that?
No,
Maybe you ought to check with your mom, she may have that.
I don't know, I think if she did, I'd have seen it.
Well, he
Okay.
had that after he came back, I've seen it more than once.
Huh.
Well, he came back in the war then, and Dude came back, and during that time, Peony had moved to California,
Right.
and she was working in an aircraft factory. She was a riveter,
Mm-hmm.
and so the war was over there. Dude came back to El Reno. Peony came back,
And Peony is related to who now?
she's Nadine Brown's younger sister.
Okay, all right.
So Nadine Brown, which is Peggy's, her best friend through school, all through
Okay.
school,
Okay,
and later.
okay.
And Dude and Peony went together for a while, and just shortly after they got back, they got married.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that was about what year do you think?
they got married in 45.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it was. I don't know the date, but it was in 1945. And then Dude worked on the Rock Island. Jeff came back, went to work on the Rock Island Railroad. He was a switchman. Dude went to work on the railroad as a brakeman. And then he decided he wanted something different. He went, he put in an application with the FBI. He got that job and was sent back to the east. I'm not sure, he was around D.C., Maryland, and New Jersey area.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he really disliked it. He was just interviewing people about relatives and who did what and so forth. He said it didn't amount to anything. He didn't like it, didn't like that part of the country. FBI wouldn't send him anywhere else, so he left that. Went to work for the Border Patrol, and was on that a while, and he was very fluent in Spanish.
So when do you work, where did he live when you worked for the Border Patrol?
Oh, I don't know where he was on the border, I
Huh.
really don't. He wasn't there long.
Somewhere close to Mexico.
Well, yeah, it sure was. Yeah, the water separated him. But I really don't know where he was, I don't remember. But, in the meantime, before he went to work on railroad and all that other stuff, Dude went to school. He got his bachelor's at OU, and then he got his master's down at Emory University in, where is that, Atlanta?
I have no idea.
I think it is. I'm sure it's Atlanta. He got he got a master's, I'm not sure, I believe that was English or literature or something. And then they went down and he finished, he did another semester and got a master's degree in Spanish at National University in Mexico
Wow.
City. And Peony and they had one little girl then, Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
They went down with him to do that year. And then he came back, and that's when he went to work. I got ahead of myself. That's when he went to the FBI
Okay.
and the Border Patrol, and he worked on a railroad again, and then he ended up working at the reformatory there, the federal reformatory at El Reno.
Oh, okay.
He was out there, seemed like over half the inmates out there were Spanish, spoke Spanish. So that was good. You'd have thought that'd work, but he really didn't care for that. And in the meantime, I had come to Wyoming, so he decided to come up here.
So he just went all
So,
over.
Yeah, he did. He tried a lot of things. He came up here, got a couple of odd jobs and so forth, and then he went to work for the telephone company on the construction end, constructing new lines, replacement lines, and all that. And then with his background and degrees, he moved up real fast to business jobs, and then he was exchange manager in, let's see, he was exchange manager in Lovell, he was exchange manager in Lander, he was in the business office in Casper, then he went to the business office, and I know he worked in traffic in Cheyenne, and then he was moved up into the head office in Denver, and that's where he retired.
Mm-hmm.
And then he lived in, Pearl and Miles was out of the Army then, and they lived in a little town, I can't remember the name of it, down on some
Locust
lake.
Grove.
Locust Grove, that lake.
Locust
Mhm.
Grove, yeah. So they bought a place
Yeah,
down there thinking,
I went out there many times.
did you see that? Oh,
And ate out of their garden
Mm.
and
oh.
ate Aunt Pearl's freezer jam that to this day I think I could probably market and make a fortune off.
Yeah,
That stuff was
yeah,
incredible.
she canned everything.
Yeah, but that freezer jam was addictive.
Yeah,
Ugh.
she was a good one. She didn't waste, she used everything.
Yep. I remember
Yeah.
Grandma Peggy and Aunt Pearl one time out there in Locust Grove decided they were going to, I ate fried okra like I could eat it forever.
Me too.
They decided that they would make all the fried okra that I could eat. One of them would have a pan, they'd alternate, so one would start one pan, another one would start the other one, and about the time one was done, they'd start another one. And they made okra for me until I finally said, I can't eat any more okra. And it was heaven.
Well, okra reminds me of when I came back. I met you when you were real young, but I was back in Oklahoma and at Peggy's when Pearl and Miles came down, and you and Buddy and Judy and the girls came over from Oklahoma City,
Mm-hmm.
and we had dinner there at Peggy's in Sanford, and you were about 16, and one thing we had was okra. We had okra, and I had another helping, and I said something about, is there any more okra? And you said, Uncle Roy, there's some left here. I was going to eat it, but I'll half it with you. And I said, I'll take it. So we cleaned up the okra
I remember
and fried potatoes. And
Yeah, Johnny's unfried hamburgers and okra. I could have lived off that my
Oh.
entire childhood.
I love fried potatoes, okra, and corn, and I didn't have to have anything else but fruit.
Nope. Nope. Too bad you can't keep living off that as you get older. One day you find out how much grease and carbohydrates are in that, and you realize, yeah,
That's
kind
why I'm drinking this stuff for my and taking pills for my
I
cholesterol
know.
now.
That's why at your church fellowship, I looked at all those cookies and I went, I'm gonna have carrot sticks and broccoli.
Well, yeah, see,
Didn't
I
last,
didn't
though.
have a choice. Carol just got cookies for me, and
Oh, did she?
I had to eat them.
Well, I got you some cheese too.
Oh well,
You
yeah.
had to eat them.
Well, then Emily gave me some more cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
she-
Emily put away that pepper jack cheese
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
yeah, they hit the spot with her.
Hmm.
No, but after that, dude retired. You know, he went to Locust Grove, and then he didn't like it down there, and then he moved back up to Colorado, where Jan and her daughter Jan and Bob were, and then they moved from that town, and then he moved up farther north with them around Greeley, and then they moved somewhere else, and then he moved. That's when he moved to back to Wyoming
Mm-hmm.
to Du Bois.
Mm-hmm.
Built a house up there and stayed there a while. And then when
And
he
in
had
all those years, Penny never minded just following him around everywhere.
Penny just, I believe she just thought whatever dude wanted, that's what we were gonna do, so I never heard Penny complain about anything.
Well, that's
She was
awesome.
too
They
sweet.
found their match.
Yeah,
That's good.
and they were together before Penny died. They were together almost 60 years.
Hmm. Wow.
They
Penny
were,
di-
yeah, they had their 60th. They almost made 62.
Oh, was that
Wow.
it? Oh, excuse me. No, that's right. They were married in 45. Oh, yeah. And Penny died in November of last year.
August of last
And
year.
then dude died just a little bit later.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, well, no, he died about 3 weeks ago.
June
Okay.
19th.
June 19th? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So about a year apart from each other.
No, just
July,
from August to
October, November.
June.
What is
August
it, about
to
7
June.
months?
10 months.
10 months? Okay.
Just didn't want to live without her.
Yeah, I guess that's right, because it just came awful fast on him. Everything started failing at once, really.
Yeah.
And of course, Jeff died way too young. He was only 52, and
Yeah.
he died in 1971.
His last day, Becky was a baby, and and Becky and Mom and Dad and me went with Grandma and Grandpa. We went out to the lake and was skiing and stuff like that. And I remember on Interstate 40, we were heading to Oklahoma City, and they got on the bypass to cross over with the boat and the truck and the camper shell, and crossed over the highways. We went underneath there and waved goodbye to him and stuff. And that night, Mom woke me up and took me over to Mark Holmes' house, my best friend, and I spent the night. And they rushed out of Reno and came back the next day and told me Grandpa passed away. And and I just was out of the blue, totally out of the blue.
Yeah, I had just gone back to the Seeing Eye
Mm-hmm.
and got my second guide dog. And I'd just been home. I think I'd been home 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
and I was gonna call Jeff that day, and early that morning, Peggy called me.
But he did everything.
I told you
Looking back on it, rolling his own cigarettes and smoking those, and eating lots and lots and lots of Tabasco sauce and gravy on everything, and just really looking back on it. Of course, back then you didn't really know how unhealthy all that stuff really was. But if you look at everything he put in his body, his heart was just. If anyone hasn't had a problem with heart disease at all, he was doing everything wrong to make it worse.
Us kids all did. I did too, especially me. And dude, all we ate was fried food. Jeff and I loved the same thing. We loved beans, chili, a lot of jalapeno peppers.
Well, you didn't know how bad smoking was either. Every movie you look back then, all those old black and white movies, smoking was just a normal
everybody.
social thing.
Yeah.
Nobody thought it was bad
You're
for
supposed
you.
to have a cigarette in one hand and a drink in the other.
Right.
If you watch the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a kid, I didn't understand it at the time, but I was a very lucky person. Every time the other kids started smoking, I'd try to smoke anything and it'd make me sick.
Mm-hmm.
I would try to smoke a cigarette, I'd vomit. I'd try to smoke a cigar, everything made me sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally just gave up and thought I wasn't going to try. And so I ended up being the lucky one.
That's good.
But tell about the dog. When Peggy called to tell you about Jeff.
Oh yeah, Peggy called that morning and told me Jeff had died, and boy, I don't know, Jeff had been so good to me, and I'd go down there and visit, and the last time seen him is when we all went, well, David, you were little.
What was
And
that?
we'd all gone over to, what do you call it, Eufaula.
Mm-hmm.
We'd been over there a couple of days, and then we came back to El Reno, and yeah, you guys went into Oklahoma City, of course. I went back with Jeff and Peggy to El Reno, and we dropped off the boat and everything, and then the next morning, Jeff and I got up, hooked up the boat, and went up to Eufaula, or to Canton Reservoir.
Mm-hmm.
And we fished up there all day and spent the night, fished some next day and went back. So I spent a lot of time with Jeff that time. And to the best of my memory, I might have seen Jeff after that, but I just can't remember when I was down there. But anyway, I spent some good hours with him there. But when Peggy called, I told her that Jeff was interested in my dogs, and I knew Peggy was, and I didn't mean anything about the way I said that, but I said, well, I'm awful sorry I didn't try to call Jeff yesterday. I was going to call him today. I just got back from seeing I a couple of days ago with my new dog, Abraham. Wanted to tell Jeff about him. And she said, well, Roy, you can tell me about him. I'm interested. And Peggy was always so good to me and so thoughtful. Like I say, she was more like a sister than a sister-in-law.
I can't, you were talking about when Grandpa Jeff was working up, living up in Chicago, working the steel mill, and he was deferred. And you said, Grandma Peggy just said, Jeff, you're not happy, and you want to join the military, and you need to go do that. And I know my Grandma Peggy was human, but I literally can't think of a single time she didn't put everybody else first. Ever. And I know grandchildren see the best side,
Yeah.
but I honestly, I can't even think of a story about the only story I can think of about my grandma was that I knew she had any kind of emotions other than just,
I
thinking
know
her
what
as-
you're going to say.
was my mom. My mom said she always knew when Grandma and Grandpa had kind of a conflict, because she would come home and the house would be full of fresh baked bread, because she would just beat the bread to get her frustration out. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah, she loved to bake, and she learned to bake from my mama.
Mm-hmm.
See, Peggy came out. See, when she first met Jeff, I would have only been what, 12 years old or so.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a kid there, I liked to wear them old overalls, the blue and white stripe. You remember ever even seeing them?
Oh yeah, I have a pair, believe it or not, of Dickies blue and white stripe overalls.
Oh, have you? Okay, I didn't know they still made them. Well, I wore those. Well, when Peggy and Jeff had come out, and sometime we'd take a rifle and a pistol, and we'd go to the river, and they took me with them so many times to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And Peggy would always, Roy, can I wear a pair of your overalls? And Peggy get my overall. In fact, I asked her later years if she had a picture of her in those overalls, but
And if she did, she probably tore it up.
no. Judy said she went over one time and Peggy was sitting on the floor looking through pictures. She thought, I said, Mom, what are you looking for? And she said, well, I'm looking for a picture that Roy asked me about. He wanted to know if I still had a picture of us when I had on a pair of his overalls. And she never found it though. Or if she did, she didn't give it to her.
She did, she tore it up.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she was one dandy person.
Yeah, she was.
I had two sister-in-laws that you could not have improved on. But Peggy and Peony were both that way. Peggy was so good to all of our family. She was so good to Mom and Pop and just all of us. She was just an extra good person.
When did your parents die?
My dad died in 1952.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, of course, in Wyoming, but at the time, I'd taken off with somebody, and I was out in in Utah and Arizona running around. I love to camp and, you know, I love to climb the hills and camp and
Mhm.
swim, and I really enjoyed that. And I was out there. Peggy did call the highway patrol and told them, but they didn't have our license number. So they said they would look, and if they seen a Wyoming car that, you know, that they thought might be me, they'd stop it. But you know, there's too many Wyoming
Sure.
cars in Utah.
Right.
And I never knew my dad had died, probably till, oh golly, it was probably 3 weeks after the funeral when I
Oh,
came back
wow.
and got any mail or anything. I didn't know it till then.
That's hard.
And that was just about the time that I found out. It was probably another 2 weeks after that that Dude left, with Dude and Peony, and the second little girl, Janet, had been born. She was just a wee baby,
Mm-hmm.
and they came to Wyoming. And that was just after Pop died.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mom came up several times to visit us. She'd come up, and I was single. I'd have a room at a place that I really liked, and it was good there in Casper. And Mom would come up, and when she was there, after I left the oil patch, when I'd do that, she'd come up. I'd get an apartment for a couple of months or 3 months, and she would stay with me. And at that time, when Dude was there, was back there with the phone company, she stayed with him. But she spent several summers with us in Wyoming. And then she was visiting us that way, and she'd been up with me. And at that time, Dude, this was in early 64. Let's see. When did Mom die?
60,
4. Isn't that right?
it might have been early 64.
Well, see, it seems like I have a picture of me as a baby and she's holding me.
Yeah,
So that she just barely met me before
Yeah,
before she
yeah, I guess.
passed away.
that's right.
What month were you born?
April of '63.
When did she die, honey?
It was in the early part of the year, wasn't it? Like January or February, or I'm trying to find it here.
I can't remember. Anyway, Mom was in Wyoming visiting us, and she was in, she had left Casper and was right down at Dude. And she had a light heart attack while she was in Cheyenne.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down to visit her, and I wish I could tell you we've got that date. But anyway, she was at Dude's, and anyway, she wanted to, Dude said he'd drive her home. And the doctor said, I think it would be less stress. Mom had never been on an airplane. He said, I think it would be safer and less stress if your mom would go on a plane and let someone pick her up in Oklahoma City. And he said that would be much easier on her right now. So I saw her, I went to Cheyenne and saw her, and that's the last time I saw her. She went home and died not long after that.
She died January 25th, 1964.
January 64?
Mm-hmm.
Then that was December when she was there then, because she had only been home a short time. That had been November, December. I saw her in January. She went home and she was doing better. And the day that Mom died, she had talked to Pearl on the phone a few minutes earlier. And Pearl was going to stop by and pick her up, and they were going to go downtown to go shopping for something. And when Pearl got there, she tried the screen door. She knocked and tried the screen door at one room, and it was locked. So Mom didn't answer, and Pearl said she was afraid something was wrong. She went to the front door and knocked, and nothing, and she looked into a window, and she saw Mom sitting in her rocking chair. And she had been sitting there, and and was mostly dressed and was putting her shoes on. And it looked like she just had a heart attack, leaned back, and died.